Okay, so in the next 3 minutes, you'll learn everything you need to know about doing basic math for the same or different data types. Okay, so I'm at the point where my game has a lot of post-processing effects and they need to be controlled numerically with calculations. So unfortunately, post-processing variables never use integers, or very rarely, so I need to figure out how to do calculations from using my integers and not throwing everything away and calculating float values. Okay, so here's my little test FSM, ignore all this junk, but right here, if I hit the A key, I'm gonna do a calculation, and I have down here, I've got two variables, one's a float and one's an integer. And then I just take that value and print it to the screen. So the first thing you need to know is when you select an action, it's gonna take the type of action you're applying and it's gonna make it that number format. So if I do an int add, and I'm gonna select my two variables, one is obviously an int, and the other is actually a float. Now luckily you can do a convert on the fly. I'm gonna do a convert, and that's my float. And I'm gonna take this value and just paint it to the screen. That's var B. If you go here, you're gonna make sure that you select the variable that we're calculating, and the calculated value is the one on top. So you do the equal sign. I'm gonna use a variable, and this is not a string, so we have to convert it from float or var B. And then I'm gonna hit A, and of course, it adds it, but it truncated the float. So we do not want that because it should be the opposite. So if we want to maintain that 5.5, which should be 15.5, we're going to make sure we do a float add instead. Add that. We're going to select our float variable, and we're going to convert our int variable. And then make sure we're looking for float A. There it is. And since we're displaying a float anyway, we don't have to rely on variables. Say we want 25% of whatever this float value is, we can go ahead and do a float multiply. Drag him to the top. Get rid of this. And we'll take our float value, and instead of selecting a variable, we just do 0.25. And that's 25% of 5.5. Then all these functions stack also. So if we want to do an int add, so now we're doing an int add, the result is going to end up being an integer as the first value. So we're going to add our int, and we're going to convert the latest value of 25% of this float value. Convert float A, and now we're going to display B. And that's correct. Okay, so that's basics. So you can stack these for however deep you need it to calculate pretty much anything you want. Just remember that the format of your end result is going to be of the type that you selected for the function and the first input. All right, so I hope that gets you started. This is really basic, and I'm doing this video because I didn't know how to do it. All right, cool. See you next time. Bye.